Hello, my pack, my tribe. Welcome to Howling After Dark. Okay, so tonight's show, we'll get into that in a second. But before I get into the nitty gritty, I have a few things I would like to say. One, we have a Patreon site. It's patreon.com/Ghostwolf. So if you feel like helping us keep the show going, feel free to donate. The top tier people will have some exclusive things now and down the road, including some FaceTime with me personally. We'll talk about whatever you want, basically, in the paranormal. If you have experiences you'd like me to talk about on the show or just want to talk to me about and get my take on it, we can do that. And once we have merch, our top tier patrons will have early access to all merch. So there you go. Also, I'd like to give myself a little pat on the back. We are now on Spotify. So that's another way that you can listen to us. You can look up Ghost of Radio or Howling After Dark on Spotify, and there you go. So, anyways, on with tonight's show. Tonight's show is called Dummy Boards. And there's a very good, very specific reason for this. And everything I'm about to say, while I see them as absolute fact, they are my opinion. You're allowed to have a different opinion. This is just my opinion, so don't get butthurt. So, it's called Dummy Boards because I've seen a lot of, primarily on YouTube, a lot of paranormal investigation shows where people have used Ouija boards in their investigation. The latest of which, and I'm not trying to single them out, they're, by the way, they're actually an excellent paranormal team, so I don't want them mad at me. This is just my take on a few things that they've done. There's a channel on YouTube that I actually recommend you check out, even though they've done some things I don't agree with. Ghost Club Paranormal. So check them out. They're actually really good. But they have used, in at least 2 investigations I see on their list here, I haven't watched them all yet, but they have used Ouija boards. Now, I'd like to explain why I see these things as stupid. Okay? Literally, it's like Russian roulette, in my opinion. You're literally playing with your paranormal life. But allow me to go into much more detail on this. So, for those that haven't heard me before, just a brief background on me. I had a near-death experience when I was very young. As a result of that near-death experience, I can see spirits and spiritual energy. As far as I can tell, all of it. Okay, so what I mean by that is not just ghosts, not just demons or angels or what have you, but the myriad of other things that I can see that don't fit into any cookie cutter category. Okay. I also see spiritual energy. I've been a paranormal investigator for 30 years, and I'm a practicing medicine man. And I always know when a location is haunted because I can actually see the spiritual energy, the ectoplasm, for those of a more psychological bent, coming off of the said place. To me, what it looks like, honestly, is like usually like green, blue colored, but it has that appearance of like heat waves coming off a hot asphalt on a really hot summer day. That's kind of what it looks like to me. But it's coming off of a house or a structure or a location. And I also see things like portals. And this brings us to why this is dumb. These Ouija boards, these dummy boards, as I like to call them. And people have argued, well, spirit boxes are like that. I'm going to settle this right now. No, They're not, because a spirit box has an off switch. Okay? The problem I have with Ouija boards, why they are so stupid, in my opinion, is once you open a Ouija board, you're opening a portal. Okay? But unlike with a spirit box or an Ovilus or any other kind of communication device that you can switch off, you have no control over it. Once you open that portal, it's open and there is no shutting it. It takes a specialized skill set to actually close portals or to seal them, actually. Okay, so these Ouija boards actually open portals. When you close the session, everybody thinks that you say goodbye and move the planchette to goodbye, and that ends the session, but that's actually not correct. Okay? And keep in mind, I'm just going by what I see, and I've learned over the extent of my life, basically, to trust what I see. Okay? And for those closed-minded fucktards out there, no, they aren't hallucinations. Okay? There's too much evidence that I've gathered over the years to back up what I see. So you can just shut that down right now. And if you don't like it, get off my channel. Simple as that. But going back to my point. So I've actually witnessed these sessions before where the portal did not close once the quote-unquote session closed. And they folded up the board and everything and put it back in its Hasbro, Parker Brothers, whatever the fuck it is, box. And stuck it in their hallway closet and forgot about it. That portal remains open. And here's the problem about that portal. There's no control over what comes through it. So imagine, if you will, you have taken this Ouija board, this dummy board, into a location that is nice and serene and peaceful, and it has good, warm, loving spirits in that location. And you take a Ouija board in there, and you're basically like spinning the chamber of this spiritual Russian roulette, only you might not be the target. But whether you are or not, it's definitely going to have an effect one way or the other on the spirits that are already in the location. Okay? So let's say you're doing whatever you do on the dummy board, and you open that portal and a demon comes through it. You have no control over that, and it's going to still be there even once you close it. Okay, so now the good, warm, loving spirits that were in this place now have to deal with the shit that you just let loose in their home. And this isn't even to go into the possibility of something negative following your ass home or messing with you. But nobody considers that. All they're looking for is, oh, let's get good stuff that we can catch on film. And while that's all well and good, you never think beyond that. And that's why they're stupid. They are dangerous, and they should not be used in a serious, responsible paranormal investigation ever. You are playing with fire. Okay, so bless you. That is my objection to dummy boards. My further objection to these stupid boards is the fact that in every single case in which I see these things being fucking used, nobody takes any precautions. And what I mean by that is, if you absolutely have to use a Ouija board, draw a circle of fucking protection around you so that it cannot escape. So that it can't mess with every fucking buddy else because you just let something evil into the world. You might have also let something good into the world. I will give that. But point is you have no control over what comes through. It could be good, it could be evil, it could be somewhere in between. But the point is sooner or later you're going to let something through that you cannot deal with, and then somebody like me has to come and fix that fucking problem that you created. So please, don't use them. Now, if you want to go somewhere and take the precautions, at least draw a protective circle or some other form of protection, then, at least you're going into it informed and you're doing something to protect the other spirits in the environment. And while I still would object to that, I would be more accepting of that than of doing no protection at all. Because you got to understand, it's one thing to take a risk with your own life, with your own soul. It is another thing to take risks with everybody else's, including the spirits in the environment. That's not cool. And you really should think of that. Now, having said all that, I get doing things to try and elicit a response from the spirits in the environment, but there are certain things you should never do. Okay? I just watched this team, Ghost Club Paranormal. I just watched one of the videos where one of their investigators brought in this doll. It was like a teddy bear that had a demonic spirit supposedly within it that was bound, literally bound from doing harm. It anointed with holy water and wrapped in twine, okay, to bind it. And she fucking unbound it in this abandoned church where evil stuff was already happening. That was... Sorry, that was fucking stupid. Because you're taking something that was bad and making it worse. With that. And that's also why I don't like the dummy boards too, is because essentially you're doing the same thing. Potentially. I mean, you might only get good stuff, and if that's the case, then good for you. But the point is you have no control. And if you have no control, then you're basically playing with a loaded gun in somebody else's house when you do that. And that's not kosher because A, you're doing it without regard for anybody else, living or not. You're also not asking for permission to do it in most cases that I've seen, which is kind of fucked up. Because I could promise you this, okay? Do whatever you're going to do in the privacy of your own home. I don't give a shit. But if you were to come into my house with the Ouija board and open it up and try to play with that fucking thing in my fucking house, I would kick your ass out of my house, and I may or may not open the door first. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's as good as assaulting me and endangering not only me, but my family. So think about that the next time you're tempted to open a Ouija board at a haunted location without the spirit's permission, because I can guarantee you they feel the same way. But I've been talking years about this now. Because all of this goes into something I've said for a very, very long time. In the paranormal field, because we are already basically fighting an uphill battle as far as the world is concerned. Because I don't really give a shit if closed-minded people believe me or not, because they're closed-minded fucktards and don't really matter at the end of the day anyways. But we're talking about potentially all the people that could be helped by my team, by me individually, by other teams, all right, that you have potentially damaged from and kept from being able to help those people because you had no regard for anyone else when you opened that board or when you did that thing, whatever that thing is. You know, the point is we have to be so careful about what we do because we are already being looked at through a colored glass of distrust and criticism, okay? And the only way we're going to overcome that is if we start taking responsibility for ourselves and start really thinking about how we do things and how we can be of service to those around us. Okay? Because if you're not being careful, it basically paints the whole paranormal field with a shit brush. Okay? If you make a mistake, if you do something wrong, let me give you an example here. So, back in, I forget what year it was, I think it was like 2007, 2008, some shit like that. Um, and I could be wrong. It could have been later or earlier than that. I don't know. But there was a team, a paranormal team from Texas that went to New Orleans to investigate the Laura Lurie plantation. And I believe there were 7 individuals, something like that. They decided that the way that they were going to investigate is they were going to light a bunch of candles. Which, okay, not the smartest decision inside of a structure that was built in the 1800s. It's probably dry as a matchbox. Number one. But also, they decided to get drunk and stoned while they were investigating, and it ended up burning down a good chunk of the La Lurie plantation, so that for several years after that fateful visit by them, La Lurie would no longer allow paranormal investigations of any kind. Which meant that other teams, like mine, could not investigate there. Couldn't do it. Couldn't go there and meet spirits. Couldn't go and potentially meet my ancestor, Marie Laveau. Couldn't do any of that. Why? Because these fucktards have painted the entire community of paranormal investigators. That's me, that's everybody else that investigates and goes ghost hunting, painted all of them with a shit brush. Because and as far as I'm concerned, I will tell you this. As far as the paranormal community goes, is above the law. And what I mean by that is, I've talked about it a few times, but I'm just going to briefly reiterate this. My very first show, which was on a radio network that no longer exists, called Utah. Thanks to my good friend Josh Elmer from Tipa Paranormal. That's where my first show was, and my very first episode of Halloween After Dark was about this topic. I was supposed to come out on another network, but that didn't work out. But I listened to one of their other shows, and on this other show, called, I believe it's called Going Beyond, this lady had phoned in who had a very serious situation in her house. The way she described it, and she described it in a lot more detail than I'm about to, but briefly, the way she described it is like there is a succubus or incubus spirit in her house. And for those that don't know, that is a demonic spirit that feeds off sex, to put it bluntly. And so, very serious problem. And so she's calling all around to different paranormal teams trying to get some fucking help, and everybody that she manages to get out to her place to check this out fails her spectacularly. One team, who I don't know the name of, but I remember this clearly, decided that they were going to go to the bar before the investigation. So you can imagine how that turned out. And then, thinking that oh my god. They're finally, there's some sunlight breaking through these fucking clouds. She gets a hold of Ryan Buell. Now, if you're not familiar with Ryan Buell, Mr. Buell was the lead investigator on the now canceled paranormal TV show, Paranormal State. And Mr. Buell, I don't think he was taking her seriously at all, which doesn't really fucking matter if he took her seriously or not, honestly. What pissed me off about this is what he did. Okay? So he goes to her house, spends maybe 15 minutes there, tops, has her wait outside, which I kind of agree with just that part, having her wait outside if there's something dangerous inside. That part I get. What I don't get is what happened next. So he goes inside, looks around for about 10-15 minutes, comes back outside, and very rudely looks this woman dead in her face and tells her that she is crazy. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. That's hardly the fucking point. Here's what the fucking point is. Rule number 1, you never, ever, ever tell a client that they're crazy. I do not give a shit if they open the door with a tinfoil hat on their head. You don't fucking do it. But it gets worse. So evidently Ryan Buell had some kind of friendship or at least acquaintance with Jonathan Zaffis from the Haunted Collector. And Jonathan Zaffis is supposed to go to this lady's house and check things out. But Ryan Buell told him all about what he thought, and so he went there, and the well, so to speak, was already poisoned, I guess you could say. Because his opinion was colored by Ron Buell's opinion, of course, and so he goes there and steps it up a notch, and not only tells this lady that she's crazy, but tells her that he's going to have her blackballed from having any paranormal investigation done in the state of Pennsylvania. Let me make something very clear here, folks. Okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Jonathan Zaffis. I don't care if you're Ryan Buell. I don't care if you're Hans Holzer. I don't care if you're Professor Barry Taft. I don't give a flying fuck if you're Zach motherfucking Baggins. It doesn't fucking matter who you are. I don't care if you're God himself. Nobody has the fucking right to blackball any fucking buddy from having an investigation done in their fucking house if they need the help. Nobody. And I will call out both their fucking punk asses out onto the carpet. Because I don't fucking care who they are. I don't care how much fucking money they've got. They want to try and come at me, you better be fucking prepared for war. And trust me, that's something I know a lot about. So that's what my first episode was about. And I've been about that ever since. We have to be so fucking careful about what we do, about what we say, about doing things that can put the rest of the paranormal community in a negative light. That includes using fucking dummy boards in locations that you don't own. Hell, even if you did own them, if you're using that shit without asking the spirit's permission first, you're a fucking dumbass. And you're disrespectful. Or at the very least, you haven't thought it through. Whatever you do on your own time in your own fucking house is on you. If you want to invite evil potentially into your life, go ahead, use a Ouija board. I don't give a shit. That's on you. But when you're going to a haunted location where you either know there's not evil spirits there, or you don't know what's there for sure, because you haven't investigated there yet, and you bring a fucking Ouija board into that place, guess what? You potentially just created a problem there. And the people that own the place or run the place or otherwise have given you permission to fucking hunt there aren't going to let you hunt there anymore. Because they remember that shit. And even if it's like an abandoned location and you're just going there, you still have the spirits to contend with. I don't think you understand how damaging that can be. Picture, if you will, you have these nice, friendly people, right? Just sitting around in their house, minding their own fucking business. And then, boom, you just fucking release a fucking hungry bear into the middle of their living room. Not exactly going to be a pretty picture. Or maybe it'll be a cute little puppy dog. Point is you don't know what the fuck it's going to be because you have no control over it. But you should have known better. Because you don't have control over it, you need to take those things into consideration. And that falls under the flag of be careful what you do, because everybody else has to contend with your choices. For better or worse. I have dedicated my fucking life to making things better in the paranormal field. If I go to a residential case, for example, well, for starters, I've done about 500 house cleansings to date where I've used Native American ritual and sage smoke to cleanse homes of negative spirits, right? Out of 500 times, you know how many times I've had to return to the location because it didn't work or something wasn't done right? 0. And the reason for that is because A, I have absolute faith in myself and my abilities and the things that I use to get the job done, including sage smoke. Okay? But if I had even a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't do it because I have to be careful. I have to be careful that I'm not going to paint the whole thing with this shit brush for the next team that comes in there and investigates. Because all we have is our reputation. And I know how hard it is to be in this field and try and make something of it. And I'm not going to ruin that chance for somebody else. Because I'm not a dick. Anyways, food for thought. And I do not know why my phone is blowing up all of a fucking sudden. Anyways, that is about all the time I have for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Patreon. That's Patreon/Ghostwolf. Every little bit helps, and we are very appreciative of it. And our top tier people are going to get early access to any merch and base time with me and all sorts of other goodies as we start to develop this whole thing. And also, we're also on Spotify, and you can listen to us here on Spreaker. And I every time I do a show, I post it on Facebook and everything. So, thank you for your time. Until next time, my pack, my tribe. Peace out.